question is, poverty in the developing world has a female face. How does poverty become feminized, and what steps should be taken by viewers and media to subvert this stereotype?
Is it a stereotype?
Yeah, that's a question.
Is it a stereotype, or is it true that our women in what do you say, women in the developing world, are women in the developing world more likely to be poor than men? I don't know. Yes,
I think so.
You think it's not media created? It's not a media created stereotype. You think it's true? There's enough data to.
Probably not just our country, but other countries too. Like, you know, where they work in the fields, women, that slavery and all that, you know, back and started there. And I feel like even in America, more women are likely to be in poverty. That's just my feeling.
Okay. Was that your research project, or
Sort of.
if sort of?
I researched.
I looked up numbers. I could not find any numbers to support that women are more likely to be in poverty than anyone else.
In the developing
world. I couldn't find numbers to substantiate that. I did find numbers to substantiate that women are more disadvantaged. But I didn't, and that women are doubly disadvantaged because they're disadvantaged by gender, and this may be what you're talking about, is they're disadvantaged by gender, and they're also disadvantaged by poverty. So they're the way where you have a man and a woman, a man may not be disadvantaged by fact of being a man. So a woman has this double disadvantage that men don't have. But I couldn't find numbers.
I think it, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, wouldn't that prove the assumption that that is a stereotype? Because as you said, you can't find numbers to either prove or disprove that statement, but yet most of us believe that women are the face of poverty and that women are more likely to be impoverished.
Is that because it is true in the United States?
That I don't know.
Are you implying that it is true in the United States?
I honestly couldn't say about the United States in particular. But what I was going to say is I think in terms of developing countries that it becomes, like Dr. Thompson was saying, a differential between economic and social issues, whereas almost worldwide, the social issue aspect of women being disadvantaged is cross-cultural, whereas in a lot of developed countries, or developing countries rather, where they're economically not as stable and they're still growing, that it's harder to get a strong differential one way or the other because everyone's on an equal playing field of dirt poor, you know? And so I think poverty in general is one of those things that it's, you know, I think that if it's stereotyped that way, it's because of the social issue. And that may stem from United States culture and our media that portrays, you know, I do think that in the United States, women are the face of poverty here as well. I think that may be the reason why.
I think it also has to do with education. Women are not given the opportunities for education as readily as males are. And it's been proven over and over and over again that education is the way out. You know, you have to learn how to read, you have to learn how to count, you have to learn how to do more and give more and be more. And without education, without that option, women have a much harder time making the decisions that would lead them out of poverty.
The disadvantage of being a woman in some cases, and I don't know a lot of particulars, just a couple of examples, can have to do with laws on property ownership. If you have a nation where women don't own property, you know, where women can't own property, it always belongs to their husbands, or women can't inherit property, it always goes to their brothers, well then that is going to put them into poverty. one example, a couple of examples, apparently there was quite a, this is from a video that we have in the Women's Studies Office of the laws in South Africa. The laws in South Africa are at odds, or were, hopefully it's better now, were at odds with traditions. Traditionally, women did not inherit. The new constitutional law said, yeah, women can inherit equally with their brothers, but it took a lot of doing to overcome the tradition that says that women can't own property. And similar stuff I've heard about in India as well.
Right, even with changes with laws, you still have to deal with the cultural changes and like the people.
Yeah.
I have a question concerning this, and what is the problem with having a female face to poverty? Is it that you're beginning with this basic belief that that somehow creates victimhood or increases the lesser status of women? Because could it not be a good thing to have the female face to poverty? What's the problem?
I feel like when we're talking about media and this issue, like if you see those commercials in the U.S. where it's like donate to this low, like underdeveloped country, it's always like sad women crying and everything. So I feel like having women as the face of poverty, it makes it more tugging at the heartstrings, more of an emotional thing, and it also implies that victimhood. If you see like a sad man, it's like, oh, it's a country, they're not doing well, it's poor. If you see a sad woman, it's like, oh God, that means we won't have children.
Right, the
Well,
abandoned mother.
and the
And women
connection
therefore need help.
and the connection between poor women and poor children is, really tight. And there's
vessels for children and not people.
Well, but another problem with having the face of the female victim, then a lot of times people will feel this is an entitlement. They are entitled to certain things because they are victims. So that's one issue that I have with victimhood and women.
Well, and the the micro-lending movement it has been directed at women. I very rarely have heard about micro-lending projects directed at men. I think there are some. But why is that? Why did it start as, something for women to create little businesses?
When you go to kiva.org, you can choose.
There's some men
There are a lot of men
recipients in
on
Kiva.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that was started by either a freshman college student or a high school student trying to change the world.
The Grameen Bank, the original, where was that? Where's the Grameen? Was that India, Bangladesh? That was directed at women, and it was sort of cooperatives of women lending small amounts of money to other women who then would develop businesses and pretty successful.
Right.
Just at the beginning, I'm sure.
But Kiva does have both men and women. And there are community projects, some headed by men, some headed by women. Some of them are making clothes out of rags or rags out of clothes. Others are buying chickens and selling the eggs, and community cow and things like that. There's lots of things.
The fact that women, the face of micro-lending is women.
Yes.
And so I think that's a pretty interesting question. Why? Because women are poorer and need it more, or because women are more trustworthy to actually put the money to good use?
Small amounts of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the early studies show that the women were more responsible for men. I don't know if that's still true today, but that's what the early studies show.
The early studies, yeah.
The other thing I have is a question here, and I don't have an answer, but what I would want to do in addressing this would be to see how much of this is culturally based for the U.S. or Anglo-American European culture. Because the position of women, is going to tug on our heartstrings, whereas some of the nations where women have a much lesser position, it may be more meaningful for their charity type work to have a father or a masculine face to it, because the women are disposable. So I do wonder how much is cultural for Anglo-American concerns.
Yes.
I was just going to speak on the last topic. I'm no expert on the subject, but it would seem to me that in going along with industrialization, and particularly in developing countries, that as they are developing, the jobs that are available are going to men, and it is the women who are more likely to be losing that subsistence economy and are in the niche of needing the micro-lending and projects that they can do from home with the children, and while the jobs are more readily available for men.
Like construction or truck driving or.
Becoming a soldier.
What?
Becoming a soldier.
Becoming a soldier.
State supported.
But even if those jobs are, oftentimes those jobs also involve the male family member having to be moved. He has to go for work. And so getting funds back to the family can be difficult.
Yes.
So even if the employment does reach that far, there's still issues with industrialization.